Hey there, good afternoon, everybody. I want to welcome you here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So tonight, I guess this will be released later tonight. This is two music commonalities compared. So basically, what it is there'll be two of them, of course, and they're musical. So two musical. And then what we're doing is Ben is giving me two albums, or maybe two groups, or two bands, or two guitarists, or two musical rock things that have something in common with each other that make them very similar. And today he has given me these two albums, Jethro Tull's Heavy Horses and Jethro Tull's Songs from the Wood. Now, I'm really familiar with this album, but this album is currently in my playlist. It's actually in my top 5 favorite albums at this point in time, and I find this to be very, very reminiscent of Songs from the Wood. So we're going to talk a little bit about these two albums. That's what the show is about, comparing the two albums and seeing what's similar and what's maybe not so similar. Obviously, they're both Jethro Tull albums, so that's the most similar thing about them. I'm just going to put my glasses on for a sec because I'm not as familiar with Heavy Horses. I was really just hoping I could find out when it was released. And you think that would be a piece of information that they would supply on the album, but I get the copyright releases and the remake releases. This particular album is a remake for me. So it has not only the original album material, but also all of the stuff that they recorded around the same time and different versions of different songs on here. In this case, it has 4 songs that have a couple different versions and earlier versions of the same song. And so there are an extra, looks like 9 tracks on this album as opposed to the original, which had only 9 tracks on it. So yeah, excellent album, I think. Just wanted to see what we got going here. So on this album, it's basically Ian Anderson, Martin Barr, Barlow Barrymore, John Glasscock, and Evan. I think it's Evan. It might be Evan. He's on that album. So on this one, yeah, John Evan was on this album as well. So on this one, it's Anderson, Barr, Evan, Barrymore, Glasscock, and Palmer. I don't believe D. Palmer was on, or David Palmer was on Songs from the Wood, but let's just check. I'm pretty sure he wasn't, but no, I'm wrong. All 6 of the same people are on this album. So that's obviously a commonality. You've got 2 sets, and for Jethro Tull, that's big news because they produced very similar sounds to this album. I found the overall feel of the album is very similar. It was almost like I was listening to songs recorded at the same time for Jethro Tull's for Songs from the Wood, and just songs I hadn't heard before. I wish I knew what year this was. It does not say, and I never thought to check because I thought it would be on the album. And usually in most cases these things are, but a lot of the remakes don't do that. And it makes sense that they wouldn't, because if you're trying to sell something as a remake, you don't want people to see that it has 2 different dates. It's confusing to them. They want to put it out as something new, not as something old, right? So this album came out in 1977. I know that for sure. I discovered this album in 2006. I think it's my favorite Jethro Tull album, and judge on my listening for this one right now, I'm thinking this thing is going to be top 5 for sure at some point. I don't know if it'll replace Songs from the Wood or not. I don't know it's too early to tell whether this one is better than Songs from the Wood, or they're both about the same, or this one is better. I don't know. I just know that I love this album. It has a lot of folky sounds to it. The songs have a lot of catchy riffs. I think Ian Anderson's vocals are fantastic on this album. The whole kind of mystical, kind of fantasy kind of feel that's on this album, I think, is also present on here. Obviously, they were recorded roughly around the same time. Actually, I think it says here right on the cover. And why would we look on the cover, eh? Because you might find something. Yeah, originally a 1978 album. That's what I thought. But this is a remix from Steven Wilson. So has the extra stuff that I don't have on this one because this is the original release. So back-to-back albums, obviously. Very similar sounding. Lots of that folky stuff going on for both albums. Vocals are both equally fantastic. The instrumentation is amongst Jethro Tull's best on this one, and I think is very close on this one as well. If not better, I'm not sure. It's almost like they made this one, and then they just improved slightly on this one. But I could be wrong, but that's just the feeling I get. I like the lyricalness of both albums, very similar style. There's a lot of absolute killer bass and drumming on both of these albums, which doesn't surprise me considering that Glasscock and Barrymore Barlow are both fantastic instrumentalists, two of the best of their kind amongst my favorite musicians at their positions. That wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. Yeah, just absolutely killer. The other thing I like about them is the songs. Like, outside of all of that stuff, the technical stuff about the albums and that, the songs are just absolutely memorable. Every song on this album is absolutely memorable. Even the song Pep Rock, which is kind of a different sound to it. Some real heavy guitar on this as well. Just absolutely killer. This one as well, I'm not as familiar with a lot of the songs, although I've listened to this now at least a dozen times. It's growing on me every day. But there's a lot of stuff on here that's really good, right from the beginning, right to the end. And then, of course, all the extra stuff is really good as well. Maybe even better, to be honest, maybe even better. And I think this has a bit of a clearer sound than Songs from the Wood. And that's because I believe Wilson probably cleaned up any kind of discrepancies with this album. And, I like the cover on both of them. They're both kind of different, and this is during the period where Ian Anderson's beards almost look reddish in some ways. Yeah, absolutely. These are just two killer albums. You wouldn't go wrong if you were going to enter Jethro Tull. If this was a band you're thinking, yeah, I've heard a lot about this band, but I'm not sure that they're a band for me. This is an excellent entry point. There's lots of excellent entry points from Jethro Tull. They have different periods in their rock history, but this period, this would be the entry point, either of these two albums in this period, and you wouldn't be wrong with either of them. I think they're both fantastic. You could even go back to Minstrels in the Gallery, which is, to me, is the beginning of this kind of period in time for them, and both these albums, absolutely sharp. So there you have it. Two musical commonalities compared: Jethro Tull's Heavy Horses from 1978 and Jethro Tull's Songs from the Wood from 1977. Both excellent. I hope you've liked this episode. Please hit the like and subscribe. If you've got any comments about either of the albums, what you like or don't like about them, how you feel about the musicianship, how you feel about the tracks in general, Ian Anderson's abilities, all that stuff is all game in the comment section below. And please don't forget to hit the notification bell if you want to be notified of this content. And we will see you next Sunday for another episode of Two Music Commonalities Compared. And take care and have a good one. Bye.